As great as the state of California is, why did we lose over 700,000 people fleeing for other states in the last 3 years? And on top of that, 352 businesses have left California, 11 of whom being in the Fortune 100, 61 of whom having over 100 employees. Well, I dug up some numbers to try to see what's going on. Who's California voting for? To no surprise, I found that 7 of the last presidential elections, California has voted blue. But what was interesting was prior to that, we voted 6 consecutive times for a Republican. 6 consecutive times. That's interesting. Let me give you a little background. I'm born and raised in LA, so I'm California made. I love it here. My parents immigrated here from Iran in the 80s to start a better life, get their piece of the American dream, and with the thoughts of being in California, you can start from the bottom and make it as high as you want with the work, save, and good values. Unfortunately, I don't really have that same outlook because I'm in a similar position of trying to work and save and get my piece of the American dream. The California I'm trying to come up in is very different than the one they came to in 1981. Our cost of living is unbearable, our taxes and regulations are through the roof, and crime and homelessness is at an all-time high. It seems like the only thing that has been altered is the detail that only God can change, and that's the weather. So being someone who doesn't just accept things, I want to know what I can do to change them. I investigated what is causing this shift. I looked at the laws, I looked at economic data, job data, regulations, business stats, tax rates, and I've concluded that the reason people are leaving California is not a coincidence, it's not accidental. Let me share with you what I found. Let's start with economics. In an article from Chief Executive, they ranked the best and worst states to run a business. If you look at the rankings, they have Texas, Florida, and Tennessee in the top 3, followed by Georgia and Arizona. Those happen to be states that typically vote red. When you look at the bottom 5 states, California is followed by New York, Massachusetts, New Jersey, and Illinois. I'm sure you can guess which way those states vote typically. Hint, it's blue. It's funny because our governor, Gavin Newsom, always brags about California's GDP being large enough to be considered the 4th or 5th biggest in the world. And while that may be true, I believe there's more nuance to a stat like that. First, he's only been governor for 3 or 4 years, right? Imagine a company like Apple that was founded by Steve Jobs and now the CEO, Tim Cook, is ran by some guy named Newsom. And 3 years into the job, Apple lost 700,000 customers and their top line revenue dropped a little bit. And an article came out that they're ranked at the bottom compared to other major companies for the best companies to work at. Yeah, the company is still a multi-trillion-dollar company with a huge name, but based on the data alone, CEO Newsom has failed at his job and he needs to be replaced. But okay, that's just one piece of data. Let's look at the list of top regulated states in the entire country. If you look, you'll see, to no surprise, California is ranked at the very top. Just a quick breakdown for those who might not be familiar. When we say regulations, we're referring to the government passing rules and regulations to affect the way businesses operate. For example, government might pass a regulation to promote the well-being or safety of the public, but some say too much regulation hurts the free market, cripples businesses from being able to grow and prosper, and a lot of capitalists prefer less government involvement when it comes to business. So back to the list. California is number 1 in the entire nation when it comes to regulation, 400,000. The next highest state is 278,000. So it's safe to say California is an overly regulated state. So what kind of regulations? The top regulated industries in California are insurance, petroleum, and coal. So in case you were wondering why your car insurance is up or the cost of energy is skyrocketing, look no further. It's gotten so bad that major companies like Geico, Progressive, and State Farm have left and are very hesitant to open new policies in California. Okay, so we've covered regulations and we've covered business. Maybe you're still not with me. Trust me, I get it. I love it here. I love the walks on 3rd Street Promenade, going to Earth Cafe, being able to wear a t-shirt in the winter. But let me give you guys some more data. Stick with me. Over the last 3 years, the top 10 highest tax states in America, like California, New York, Jersey, Illinois, Massachusetts, they lost $400 billion in AGI, which is adjusted growth income. Now, what about the bottom 10? How much do you think they picked up in that same time span? It's an easy guess, so go ahead. 400 billion. What does that tell us? These guys simply took their block of business and went from here to there. America is talking with their feet. They're saying we do not want to be in states with high regulations and high taxes. We're going to go elsewhere. And guess what? Florida, Texas, and the others said, come on down, we'll take you. Texas took Elon Musk, they took Toyota, they took Joe Rogan, Florida took a bunch, so did Tennessee. And what is California saying? It doesn't matter. We're California. We have the best weather. We have the best this. We have the best that. Remember, our government really has to try to mess up California because the most desirable attractions are not man-made. So the other states have to actually compete with policy while we're living off just physical attraction like the scenery and the weather. And I hear you. You're going to say, Ramin, I don't care about the economy. I just want to live somewhere nice. Okay, well, let's look at the social decay of our society in California. Crime is up in California. We're seeing more car thefts. Retail thefts have become a phenomenon like never before. And you can't walk a block without seeing a homeless man or someone passed out doing drugs in broad daylight. In California, several years ago, we passed a law that stealing merchandise up to $950 is only a misdemeanor. Prior to that, it was a felony. And this law also applies to drug possessions as well. The idea was to lower the incarceration rate, which would be good for society. While maybe good intentioned, what we have now is a store being overwhelmed by people who fear no consequences for stealing. The streets are full of drugs. And that's just not fair for folks who want to work, walk in their community without bumping into someone out of their mind on drugs, and go home and follow the law. A lot of times it's just simple logic. If behavior is rewarded, you're going to likely see more of it. If it's punished, you'll see less. To many, it seems like the ones who behave properly and follow the rules are being punished, and the ones who don't get rewarded. So an issue that the government supposedly was interfering in on moral grounds is actually lacking morality when it comes to us, the people who do it the right way. Now, what about homelessness? California spent over $50 billion on homelessness in the last 3 years, and the problem has not improved. In fact, it's actually gotten worse. In that time span, homelessness has increased in our state by 15 times faster than the rest of the country. Think about that. Our state, homelessness has gone up 15 times more than the rest of the entire country. To add insult to injury, in just the last month, the leader of China visited our state. I don't know if you guys pay attention to the news or not. This is a story that I actually happened to see because it related to what we're talking about. So the leader of China came for an economic forum to visit up north in San Francisco. Suddenly, the streets of San Francisco that everybody 1 week prior was used to seeing homelessness, feces in the street, drugs being done in the street, suddenly it was clean. All the homelessness was gone, the drugs were gone. Let me quote the New York Times. They put it best when they said, San Francisco had the air this week of teenagers frantically cleaning up after a house party with their parents on the way. So wait a minute. When other world leaders come over, our leaders suddenly decide to clean up the streets, but they can't do that for us? So they acknowledge there's a problem and they're willing to fix it for others, but when it comes to us, they expect us to just take it. So after reading all this, I had to say to myself, I have two choices. I can either move or really start to vote differently and encourage my fellow citizens to do the same. If I don't, then what am I saying? I'm saying that I'm okay with having the highest gas prices in America. I'm okay with the highest tax rates in America. I'm okay with high crime. I'm okay with homelessness. I'm okay with regulation and government control. Well, I'm not okay with that. What about you? Thank you for listening.